Welcome into Rounding the Bases.
Round the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.
Welcome into Rounding the Bases, presented by Community America Credit Union, invested in you. I am Joel Goldberg. Fantastic episode coming out. Quick shout out to my friends at Chief of Staff Kansas City. If you're in the market for a job, if you're looking to hire someone, if you need a great resource, check them out, in or out of Kansas City for that matter. chiefofstaffkc.com, making connections that matter. And my connection today actually comes from previous guest Corey Morris, who introduced me to I'll use the pun on words, the best person ever. I don't know. That's so, if my kids or wife were listening, and they're not, and they won't be, they would just give me the greatest eye roll ever. But that's what I came up with. Anyway, I'm joined by an award-winning guest who has been igniting digital strategy conversations for 15 years and counting. Her savvy hasn't just earned her a place among the most accomplished professionals in the country, but it does live up to her name. Say hello to Jessica Best, the self-proclaimed email marketing evangelist and owner of Better Avenue LLC. It's the consultancy implementing the same practices she preaches from stages around the world. By turning data into insight and insight into action, she demonstrates the power of data-driven storytelling, allowing business owners to optimize their results so they can get back to doing more of what they already do so well. A self-proclaimed data nerd, which I always think is the best compliment. Jessica, how are you?
I'm good. That is the best compliment. And frankly, I never get tired of people telling me I'm the best. So you just continue to introduce me that way forever.
I wish they'd call me the best, but I don't have it in my name. Anyway, it's when you and I met the first time, there was just, at least for me on my end, I mean, there was definitely some synergy. I knew we would do something together. I don't know what that is, but we're going to do, well, we're working on some things, but I don't know where that's going. It doesn't really matter to me. I feel that vibe. I'm pretty sure that you do too. So it's been really cool to get to know you. I'm telling everybody this right now that we've only known each other a few months,
right?
And we're coming from different angles here. But you know, when I heard you describe yourself as a data nerd, but as one that not just loves it, but makes it fun to talk about, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Because, you know, I think there's an assumption that if you're a data nerd, you're going to be really boring, and you don't have to be. And not everybody is. Actually, I would say you have to not be boring is really the way to do it. And I know that because you're not getting on stage after stage after stage if you're just like, and then you do this and then you do that. Did you always have that personality, and did you always have this love of the numbers and the data?
Yeah, so I definitely have always loved numbers and data. Actually, 2 stories from childhood that answer yes to both questions. My idea of fun when I was 5 was to take all of the change from the junk drawer in the kitchen and roll it into you remember rolling quarters? Like, nobody does this anymore.
Yeah.
It was my favorite thing. You counted the right number, you double checked the number, you folded them up, you took them to the bank, and they gave you $1. I mean, I just loved it. So the idea that you can use sort of numbers is one of the first loves maybe of my life. And then at some point in my career, I fell in love with email marketing, not just because it's numbers, but because it's results, right? This isn't just numbers. This is good numbers. This is what I did, validated by whether somebody opened it or clicked on it or shared it. All of these pieces of quote data really have meaning in that. Means that what I did worked. Like, it's almost like a score, right? Like, it's almost that I get feedback in real time for everything that I'm doing. And boy, I was an addict from day one on that. Like, I learned email marketing just like everybody else on the job, not having a clue what I was doing, but 20 years ago. And I think the first thing I fell in love with was when you send an email, you just hit refresh and you watch people engage with what you sent. It's like candy for my brain. So yes, I always loved data and numbers. Yes, I always was like this. I come from a theater family. Shout out to my actor father, dancer sister, poet mother. I come from a family of people that are very comfortable on stage. And I would say that, when I was younger, I was always the sort of extra. You always need kids and big stage productions. So I did a lot of work on stage, felt comfortable on stage. And it wasn't until I got to college that I got a little stage fright. Which is kind of weird. I knew the right answer, but that idea of, am I going to say it right? Am I going to do it justice? I'm also a singer, and can I do this song the best it can possibly be? But one thing that I've noticed is I don't ever really get stage fright anymore about email marketing and data. And I think it's because it's just the number of times I've done this. Like,
Sure.
I have actually got the right answer. I've got the right story. I've told the story in enough ways that I feel like I'm definitely going to share the nut of it with you without stumbling too hard. And plus, I mean, this as a speaker yourself, once everything has happened to you that could possibly go wrong, you just stop being afraid of those things. Like, I've gotten a high heel stuck in stage walking out. I've had my slides not load for 15 minutes of a 45-minute presentation. And I didn't die. So I think I have always kind of had a natural comfort on stage, minus a few years where I maybe had a little normal high school and college. Course.
I've had one of those two things happen. The heels, anyway.
I mean, I would love to hear that story.
Yeah, I've got so many stories, as you know. That is not one of them. But I love the way you started the answer to this question, because it speaks to you as a speaker. You started it with a story. You're a storyteller too. And I think we all have to be storytellers. But the story right now on data, to me, is interesting, because it feels like there is more of a push for it right now than ever before. I might be wrong. That's just my perception. And I guess my perception comes from the fact that, I mean, you really, cracked this nut, so to speak, and fell in love with it over email.
Yeah.
But now everybody's working on their email lists through newsletters and all of these other different avenues. And there'll be new ones coming again. And everybody's, the Substack and the newsletters and all of this. And I guess the question I had for you is this, and it's probably a really obvious one, but I remember a number of years ago, among the many pieces of advice that I've received about my speaking business, the one that sort of stood out because it was so different than what anybody else said was, somebody said to me, you have to grow your email list. And I was like, why? And now I'm obsessed with finding out how to get there. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I haven't spent enough time around you. Maybe that's what it is. But why is this so important?
Thank you for setting the stage for me to wax poetic. So email marketing is kind of an interesting channel, right? It's not like TV. It hasn't been around since the 60s. It's not like direct mail, kind of is like direct mail in that you can send to every individual their version of something. They have to touch it, even if they're going to discard it, right? There's some power, there's some similarity in that, but it's fairly young. But not as shiny as TikTok or whatever thing I'm not even on yet is. But with email marketing, the reason that we're just not seeing this go anywhere fast is because this is first party data. Like in marketing, we talk about, you can go buy data, you can go buy an audience, you can, advertising, you can buy a lot of this stuff, but first party data, your own database, your email subscriber list, that's yours. No matter how you're deploying email to that list, if that email platform isn't serving you anymore, you can move your data to a different platform and you haven't lost anything. That's insane to compare to social media or media these days. Think about how much time we spend renting space from somebody else. Instagram, paid ads with Google. All of that is somebody else's space. And if they don't want to sell to us, or if something goes awry, we have nothing. So I believe truly, especially in 2025, on the edge of 2026, we cannot continue to build on rented land for very much longer. You have to at least try to get that direct relationship with the people that opt in, that give you a hand raise to hear your words, your expertise, your stories. So data is really important. I think we're getting to a point where, yep, it's fun to be able to buy access to the exact right person we want to target. And we should always be slowly working towards making that relationship direct between us and our ultimate prospect or customer, because there's nothing that can replace having that direct relationship. It can no longer be taken away from you unless the person unsubscribes.
If TikTok goes away, those followers are gone.
That's it. Well, it did. So do you remember earlier this year, TikTok was away for like a weekend? People lost their minds.
Yes.
What will we spend money on? How will we make our money today?
Mm-hmm.
That's rented land. And frankly, Instagram had a day that went down maybe 2 years ago. And I still remember it because when I was at a larger agency in Kansas City called Barkley, the paid media team was literally up from their desks, walking around like stressed out bees. They can't do anything. They can't fix it. They can't spend money today, which means they can't make money today. They were freaked out. And that was a day where I became very popular at the office that day.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And when we think about, say, TikTok, we usually just think about the kids. I remember when TikTok went away a little bit last year, and I was visiting my daughter, a theater kid and singer and choir and all that stuff like you.
My people. And, yeah, that's right.
She's your kind of gal. And we were in for they do a whole weekend of performances at DePaul and this whole comedy fest. And you could overhear all these kids. Now, I'm not getting into politics, but we're talking a bunch of theater kids at a fairly liberal school. They probably are not voting for Trump, but all they wanted Trump to do was get them back their TikTok. That's all they cared about. Okay,
100%.
That's kids being kids. Like, this is what I love. This is my addiction. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the business owners that were making a killing by doing all their advertising on TikTok, not because they were quote unquote TikTokers. It wasn't the viral stuff. It might have been viral stuff that helped them sell. It was that they understood that that's where people were going and they could sell.
Right.
But what
right. There's actually a huge B2B current on TikTok, depending on your audience. It's kind of one of the benefits of social media is you can always find your tribe. So there's money to be made there. And there was certainly money being spent there when it went down.
But not if it goes away. And to the point about owning, this is owning versus renting, I suppose too, is that I could put the greatest stuff out on LinkedIn. Doesn't mean you're going to see it.
Oh, 100%. LinkedIn is easier than Meta. Facebook is 100% in control of what people see, even when you do pay. One of the things I start my presentations with is email gets a 20 to 30 to 40% read rate. When was the last time, even with paid Facebook, you got a 40% read rate out of your audience, the people that chose to follow you? Mm-hmm. And the answer is that's astronomically expensive now, just the way that the algorithm works. Their goal is to keep that person engaged, which you want as well. If they don't have eyeballs, then it's not really worth spending your money there. But at to the detriment of that relationship, you don't actually own that relationship. It's hard for you to get in front of the people that have signed up to follow you.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to grow mine, but I do know that when I put out weekly content, and usually there's some kind of story with some inspiration. And it took me a while, by the way, because, and I want to ask you about this mindset, that I was doing a monthly newsletter. It's long enough that I know not everybody's going to want to see it, but some people enjoy it. And I was having people say once a month isn't enough. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want to bother people. And that's just the way that I'm wired. And it's like, you got to do more. And so I started doing, for the first, second, and third weeks of the month, when the newsletter doesn't come out, I started doing a much shorter, like essentially the newsletter is a series of 5 or 6 different blogs for different things. But this thing is basically just one blog that takes you 30 seconds to a minute to read. Yep. And the open rate went up. And suddenly I'd get some emails back just from a friend or somebody, or like my dad, hey, I love this one. Cool, great, glad you enjoyed it. But then I'd hear from somebody saying, hey, it's been a while, or hey, I love this. Hey, can we talk to you about maybe doing an event with us? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, I didn't really even talk about that in there.
Right.
And yet it triggered it too. So how can we better leverage our email lists? I'm not just talking about for a speaker, whoever's listening. And what are we missing?
I think the frequency piece is a hard one because a lot of folks think, well, if my competitor is sending 5 days a week, then I have to send 6 days a week.
Right.
That is a spiral to the bottom of the barrel. That's more frequency is not always the answer, but I love that you are literally getting requests for more frequency. And the first thing I would have tried, you literally came up with additional content. So kudos to you. A lot of my clients, that would be nearly impossible to add to the content calendar, just the size businesses that I've worked with. But I would have recommended, instead of doing all 5 blog posts in one newsletter on the first week of the month, send an email for each blog post where you have if you liked this article, you may also like, and link somewhere back in the archives, right? Something that you've already written or that you could get credit for. That is a natural way to stay in front of people a little bit more often. And the reply, frankly, in most cases, especially as marketers, may be the business action that we're trying to create with our newsletter. Newsletters aren't e-commerce emails, right? Buy now, click here, flashing dollar sign. That is, promotional emails are a big part of email marketing, but the newsletter is really a relationship builder. And all we're trying to do is be in someone's inbox the moment they realize they need exactly what we do. That may be somebody thinking, oh God, Joel, why wasn't I thinking of him as a speaker for my next event? It could be, I worked this week with Ronald McDonald House. They have a newsletter that doesn't really even ask you to donate. It more justifies when you are ready to give. They are creating and deepening that relationship, and they're kind of just keeping that top of mind story in your inbox so that Ronald McDonald House isn't just somebody that you write a check to at the end of the year.
And for me, at least, if you have a chance to give them something that they are going to learn from, enjoy, just something, right? I mean, so in my case, it might be just an inspirational story, something that they could take with them. I think I've told you this before, but I think that James Clear's weekly newsletter is among the best because, one, it just takes a minute.
Yeah.
But there is always something in there. A quote, a thought, a challenge that I walk away saying, oh, wow. And then when he signs off, there's usually 3 or so more pages of things that you can look at or sign up for. And it's almost like, here's more if you want it, but you don't have to. At least that's the way I read it. Like, I don't feel like I'm being asked, but I feel like I have a choice to move on if I want it. It feels like the perfect touch of, it's not leading with, want to buy my app, want to buy my book. It's, oh, by the way, if you want this, or if you enjoyed that, feel free to check this out. And he does a lot of promoting of other people. Bob Berg, the same thing, who was recently on this podcast, the author of the world famous book, The Go-Giver. He does one every morning. And it's generally an inspirational thought, an idea, and then it's always sharing somebody else's stuff, which to me makes me look at that one and be like, what a nice guy. Because we've all been
valuable, right? You don't you may not, a lot of his readers may not even realize that he's sharing other people's content as much or more than his own content, because that gives him a cadence that he can sustain. They mostly just care that it's valuable. They trust that this newsletter is going to have value in it. Yeah. That's what brings next week's open.
I'm at some point, I'm going to take mine. It's still in an early enough stage. And I'm going to have that below the line. Like, yes, you could buy my books, and yes, hire me to speak. But I think what I really want to do is, because I meet so many people through networking and the podcast and everything, is just start promoting people's books and people's work there. It's just, it just supports other people, right? I mean, it's a good thing to do. Where is all of this going? I've been asking guests this question depending on their profession, but it's really a technology and AI based question, meaning that the rapid pace that everything moving right now, at least to me, feels like quicker than anything we've ever seen. And there's no slowing it down, for better and for worse. What do we need more of as all this AI is going? We need more data centers. So what we're doing is we're building more data centers. We are just going to keep fueling more and more and more. We're not going to take our foot off the gas pedal. We're just not wired that way. We probably should slow some things down, in my opinion. I'm not against change. I'm against change that goes too fast, but it's going. I mean, that's where it's going. How do we, from a data standpoint, from an email marketing standpoint, how do we stay ahead or alongside of what's going on right now? Does that make sense?
It does. So I the first thing I would say, I'll admit that while I am not a fan of change for the sake of change, like I think human beings are sort of a little change averse, I am drawn to innovation.
Same.
And this doesn't always feel like that. Does that make sense? AI in particular, generative AI, doesn't always feel additive. It feels like faster mediocrity. And I mean that with, we were just talking about newsletters. So in email marketing, could you let AI write a whole email for you, just edit it, make sure that it makes sense, and send that out? Yes. But remember what I said about value. So is that newsletter valuable, or is that the same thing somebody would get if they Googled it and Google's AI answer could just vomit out the same thing? You're no longer creating thought leadership because AI can't create new thoughts. Like by definition, it can't create new anything. It's really just munching up what it learns on the internet and putting your name on it. That to me is a loss. That to me is an innovation. It's not forward thinking. It's not value. It's, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do 4 newsletters a month and there's no way I can do it myself. So I'm just going to outsource it to this sort of bot or this AI intern, because then I'll hit the number of things that I'm supposed to send. We've lost sight of why we do a newsletter. We've literally lost the value that people have signed up for. So I would say that, just to repeat, I admit that I am averse to change because it means I have to learn how to do something that I've already perfected a different way. But I am drawn to the idea of innovative thinking or a change in perception, a change in opportunity. I want change to be additive. I want it to explore what is not possible now, not just expedite what is very, very possible and maybe even overdone now. So I think as long as we keep that goal in mind for our email marketing, use AI. Like, by the way, this is one of the things that drives me crazy about people with email marketing is they're like, how will you use AI in email marketing now that it's a thing? And I'm like, we have literally been using AI and machine learning in email marketing for 15 years. That's what automation is. When you sign up for my newsletter, my AI, my machine sends you a welcome email. I didn't have to do that. I got the AI intern to do that. So the idea of automation, even segmentation, in my database of 100,000 people, are there groups of people that are kind of similar? Can you tell me if there are groups that are kind of similar? Some people sign up for the podcast newsletter because they want to know about your speaking engagements. Some people sign up because you have the coolest guests and they just want to hear those stories from people whose names they recognize. Can you maybe help me break that into segments so that if I ever have this type of content versus this type of content, I could actually direct traffic a little better. I could make my emails more relevant to the people that are receiving it. That's been possible for over a decade. Yeah. So I am a big fan of scaling things that, like, as a human being, I physically could not do that work by hand in real time. Every time somebody's added or clicked or whatever, this learning model is so valuable. Let's lean into that. Let's figure out how we put it to work for us instead of making it do the work for us.
And put it to work for the things that you're not good at.
100%, or can't do.
You don't know how to do, or you don't have the time to do.
Correct. I could never do a welcome email manually. And I know that's a really simple example, but like if I sat at my computer and sent a welcome email every time somebody signed up for my list, that would be my whole life, not my whole job, my whole life. Right. That's just not, that's why we have computers. That's why we have automation. So just thinking about how to assign maybe a taskmaster like AI, something that is a task instead of assigning it something that, you know, something that's beautifully innovative and human by nature. I think if we take the relationship out of relationship marketing, it's going to be a long ride.
Yeah. I mean, I think about, I don't have a welcome email that goes out when people sign up for my newsletter yet. And so I need to do that, but which sounds scary to me. However, having just built a trust assessment that I'm going to be offering to a lot of my speaking clients, I built that. I'm not a builder. I don't know how to build things, but I was able to set up all the app and the automation and Zapier and all these things because AI was able to teach me step by step. And by the way, I told it, slow down, you're going too fast, one step at a time. And it was a lot of screenshots and it was, nope, you're missing that. And it's the wrong version of this and all that. So I actually think that I'm going to create, for the landing page of the newsletter sign up, I'm going to create that welcome email now. And maybe it'll have a few of the favorite articles from the archives or something like that. And right. Yeah.
Yep.
So
no, and I love your example is perfect because AI created the deliverable for you. AI knows what the package looks like, but the trust assessment is your brain.
That's right. Yeah.
AI didn't tell somebody what should be in a trust assessment. That's literally your whole message. That is your contribution. Whether or not you can build the automation, let AI help with that.
Yeah.
The deliverable, let AI help with that. But the idea, the content, the shift in mindset, that's all you. That's you as a human.
It's so interesting. All right, let me get to the baseball themed questions and then we'll wrap it up with 4 fun ones. What's the biggest home run that you have hit in your career?
Okay, so I love baseball themed questions, and I was like, "Ooh, can I make a baseball themed answer?" I overthought it. No, I think for me, my biggest win as a speaker, especially a nerdy speaker in a digital industry, I got to speak at South by Southwest, and it is one of those bucket list. I still to this day am not 100% sure how we magicked this to happen. I had a really good talk title. A bunch of people. We went on a campaign to get people to vote up my session, and I gave a Forward 15, Fast 15 talk at South by Southwest in 2013, and it truly launched my speaking career as it is today. I'd been doing a lot of free engagements, local associations, things like that, and this was the first time that I really put together almost a TED Talk, and it was a blast. And it was, I'm such a nerd that I'm like going around to all the booths at South by Southwest Interactive. Like I'm actually having the time of my life just being there. Yeah. And then also I somehow got to be a speaker at South by Southwest. So since then, that's helped me. I mean, you said it at the beginning, I've managed to speak somehow in Vancouver and Dublin and Bucharest, Romania. Like I have a very cool job. And all of it kind of started with that one really big win.
You do have a really cool job. You also have a passion for what you speak about. And so that enables it to be a cooler job. It enables you to go to those places because it shines through and then the reputation and you go do your thing. How about a swing and a miss along the way? And what did you learn from it?
So I appreciate this question too, because I feel like I don't have a lot of regrets, right? Everything is a lesson. If you're not failing often enough, you're probably not trying very hard often enough. So it's hard for me almost to think of things as a miss. I think of things often as a lesson, but I will say that I have admitted that I've had to learn to say no to the wrong things, to leave room for the right things when they show up. There have been a couple of times that I said yes to something that I knew I didn't want to do, that was not mine to do, was not in my lane, or the person I was getting to do work with was not the right, in the right space to receive what I can do really well. And so I've learned more and more, especially being a consultant, being out on my own for the last 3 years. I've learned to trust my gut a little bit more and to protect my time.
Not easy to do, but important, no doubt.
I want to say yes to everything. I want to help everyone with their email marketing.
We all do, but no becomes easier when you start understanding that the world doesn't come to an end when it says no. They actually oftentimes are bracing for no because they already come in thinking it's going to be a no and hoping it's a yes. So when you tell them no, I've come to realize it's harder on you than it is for them.
100%. Literally, I'm more mad having to tell you no than you are mad at me.
But, not everything is the right fit, whether it be timing, whether it be content, whether it be budget, whether it be whatever it is. All right, that's a different discussion. How about small ball? What are the little things that add up to big results for you?
Yesterday, I got to go to the Kansas City Area Development Council annual lunch. Have you ever gone to that event?
I was there.
Were you? Okay, you literally said something earlier. I was like, that was at the thing. That was at the event.
I was, I was one of the 2,000 in there, so I missed you.
Yeah, well, it's a big room. But Will Gadara was the keynote speaker yesterday. He wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And I had read the book. I've followed Will. He has his own conference. I think the world of him. I think the world of his approach to things. And one of the things that he mentioned that when I heard this question, I just thought, oh my God, that's it, is the little things in hospitality are actually the big things. And that if we can define hospitality as intentionally and creatively pursuing relationships, then everything that we do, whether it's being present and listening to somebody's actual answer to something, whether it's hearing something that they would love, that would delight them, and then being able to deliver on that, whether it's just good service because it makes you feel good to make other people feel good. Those are the quote small things that I actually think might be really big things, especially as we automate more and we're talking to bots and Google search AI. The human element of really making each other feel good and being that hospitable host to people, that feels like the small ball stuff that's actually really important to me.
It's something that clicked to me in the last few weeks where I started thinking, boy, my topic of trust and relationship building and team building, which is no different today than when I was doing it 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, other than hopefully I've gotten better at it, is I believe it's more important today than it was a few years ago. That suddenly what I've been saying is that the soft skills have become the hard skills. And so it potentially provides a lane for people to be different than the competition. By the way, I assume, well, maybe not, but I mean, if you like Will Guidara, I assume you watch The Bear.
I don't watch The Bear. It would be very I worked in food service for a number of years.
It's really stressful.
Me out.
This show will stress you out at the highest level. However, all the experiences that he talked about in his keynote, and I understand most people that are listening to this probably weren't at the keynote, but everything that he talked about in his keynote has shown some form or another in The Bear, and he's a producer of The Bear. And so some of the experiences in that restaurant that they're providing for their guests were like straight out of what he talked about, and they're memorable. It's just, and you don't have to be in the food industry. The point I think that you're making, Jess, is that just give people experiences and moments that they won't forget. Sometimes that's just in the storytelling when we're on stage, but whatever it is, they're going to walk away with a memory of the feeling more than anything else. And that's part of what you do, right?
And for those of you who haven't seen the keynote, that's okay. It's all in his book. The stories were all in his book as well, which is extremely easy reading. Like you gobble it up because it's a study in what hospitality means to him through the different phases of his life and how that shows up in how he delivered hospitality. But yeah, I think in my business, when I do consulting engagements with clients that have no idea if their email marketing is working, everything about that engagement is for that client with their audience, their deliverable, their brand. One size fits one. And that's Will. That's not me. One size fits one. That's how I work with my clients too. And you're right. That's not actually that common. It's just not. Everyone's looking for scale right now. Everyone's looking for efficiency. And I think not at the expense of true hospitality. That would be my banner for that takeaway.
All right. I love that. I need to read the book, but I got it. Thank you to Community America, by the way. They gave everybody,
that's right.
They gave everybody a book and a Sandlot hat. And so I'm looking forward to reading Will's book. Four final questions as we round the bases. First is, being the theater kid, the singer and all of that, is that itch now most scratched by getting on stage, or do you still have some of that theater singing in you?
I don't. My sister still performs. My mom still sings. My dad was in educational theater, children's educational theater, my whole life. And I was the weirdo that got a job in marketing. But I sang for a number of years. I haven't done it in years. I think it is more of, it's fun that you recognize that I tell stories, even though what I talk about is kind of nerdy or dry. That to me is the performance, right? I love knowing the right answer and seeing people's eyes light up when they get it. That really does fill my cup. So probably more on the stage speaking side now. All right.
Second question, as we round the bases, you have been lucky enough to travel the world for speaking, but also I know a lot of work over in Europe as well, in Spain, and studying in France too. What did those experiences do for you? There's no way that I am as fluent in French as you are. I always joke that the biggest mistake that I made growing up was studying French. I should have studied Spanish. It would have helped me more in baseball, but there was a long period. Even if I hear some French now, I was not fully fluent in it, but enough that I could go over to France and communicate. And I still hear some of it too. What did those experiences do for you?
So I don't like flying, but I love travel. I love seeing different approaches to food and language and hospitality. When I arrived for my semester in France, they gave us the whole group from different parts of the US all sit down at this cafe, and we're getting our onboarding lesson. And we had this worksheet, and there's 40 words or something on the worksheet. And the director of the program says, which 3 words on this sheet do you think are the most important to your success in your semester abroad? Open-mindedness, adventure, passion for other cultures, whatever. So everybody's shouting out all these things. And I said, failure. And he's like, nobody ever gets that one. How did you get that one? And I said, because it's going to be the hardest one for me to do. And it was. I could speak French before I went, but 7 years of studying French in America is not the same thing as getting dropped off in a not Parisian part of France. And I knew that there were going to be times that I felt really stupid, and it happened daily for months. Nothing has been a better preparation for real life than a straight A student who can do anything. Her parents always told her she could do anything she wanted. Going to another country where she's not in control. It's not her language. It's not her culture. It's not her food. It's not her rules. And I have to try and build back up to success. For the longest time, I had my best conversations with my host parents' grandchildren because that's how well I could speak French. And it's just a whole different expectation. I think at some point in our lives, we stop really trying things we're bad at, learning a new thing that you are just going to be super bad at. It's uncomfortable at 43 for me to step into something that is just I am just completely unfamiliar with, and I'm going to be bad at it. That I think is something that I will take through the rest of my life. I've got to keep failing at stuff, or I'm not trying very hard.
Yep, I guess the same thing at 53 as well. All right, third question as we round the bases. I was reading, and this describes your personality, if you were to have an MLB walk-up song, it would be.
Okay, so I have a ton of these, but honestly, happy, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. I might actually be that song. There are a lot of really good walk-up songs, but that one feels like it almost is too playful to be taken seriously, but it's such an accurate expression of me and my style. So,
I remember a ton of years ago, there was an outfielder for a number of teams, but at the time he was with Oakland, Josh Reddick, and he chose Wham's Careless Whisper. And the whole crowd would be swaying along with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just crazy.
Yeah, that's a whole different vibe.
Also, fun fact, first slow dance I ever did in middle school. Anyway, the girl asked me, she was older. I was so nervous. That's a whole other story for another day. I'm sure that my editor, Colleen, just spit out her coffee or water or whatever when she heard that one. Okay, final question, the walk-off. I'm going to make it a simple one and then direct everybody to both websites. There's 2 websites, right?
There's 2 websites. You can see my speaker website, jessica.best. When .best instead of .com came out, I lost my mind. I was like, I must own my name. Or Better Av, which is the consulting company website, betterav.com.
We'll have both of them in the show notes. One simple piece of takeaway advice for anyone listening saying, I want to be better at that. Nice and simple. What's one thing they could do today?
Start. If you are sending emails, but you don't have a welcome email, go knock that out. If you aren't using email or growing your list, start growing your list. If you're using email and you have no idea if it's working for you, test something. Just take the next step. This is a channel that's worth investing in. Data is worth investing in. And if you start collecting now, you're going to be in a better place in 6 months and a year and 18 months. And
that right there is the advice to take. I got to get my welcome letter to go with everything else. I'm behind. So the cart before the horse, whatever. It's all headed in the right direction. Jessica, so excited to continuing to be able to continue to work with you and to be able to go wherever all of this is going. I know you're going to continue to crush it on stage and with all of your clients. Thanks so much for spending time today.
Thanks for having me, Joel. See you soon.
It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.